Actually, I'll go this way. Okay, so here's the second test. I noticed I didn't put auto on for my own speed and camera alerts web app, and the difference that makes is that the speed limit alert, if you're going over the speed limit, was not enabled. So if I did speed, go over the speed limit, it wouldn't have told me. Now, with the speed limit, there's two ways you can use it in Victoria. I've got the auto feature, and the auto feature basically uses the location of the speed signs.
Caution, speed camera ahead.
Yep, and so basically it will alert me if I'm going more than 2 kilometres an hour.
Caution, speed camera ahead.
Over the speed limit. Now Magic Earth just then is letting me know there's a speed camera ahead. It is letting me know it's 60 kilometres an hour.
Camera nearby.
And you'll then hear
Camera nearby.
my speed limit or camera alert in my voice. So I quite like that feature. If there's more alert messages, I might have to go to the built-in text-to-voice feature, but at this stage there's enough messages for me to actually manually record them and make them available. So both. Now when I just looked down there, I noticed that the Magic Earth speed limit has gone off. I don't know why. And mine is still showing me the speed limit. So whilst I think the Magic Earth has far more features than my program, it's also not working as comprehensively as my program. So in a way, it might be great that it's got all the bells and whistles, but if it's not doing the basics of what I want, which is speed limit alerts, camera location alerts, which it does the camera location alerts, but the speed limit alerts, if it doesn't know the speed limit, it's not going to tell me. So now, as I was saying, two ways to use the speed alerts, and one is the for Victorians, you can use either a fixed speed, or you can use the auto feature, which picks up the speed limit signs and what speed you should be doing according to the speed limit signs. Now, for certain locations, I actually find, for example, driving around 40 kilometre hour areas, such as in the city, I find it's better to flick on the 40 kilometre hour. So because there might not be as many signs, because it's an area. So what they use is the speed limit area, so that they can reduce the number of signs. I'm not a fan of speed limit areas, because often that doesn't tell you, it says end speed limit area, but it doesn't tell you what speed you're going into. So not a fan of those. I think they're pointless, frankly. But there's also areas in Melbourne which are 30 kilometres an hour, and 30 kilometres an hour is very difficult to keep to. So I've built that into my web app, that I can just click on the 30 kilometre hour button and it will alert me to the fact that I'm going over the speed limit. Now, I did say 2 kilometres an hour over, and the reason 2 kilometres an hour over is that the allowance for error in speed camera readings is sort of 2% or 3%, or 2 kilometres an hour or 3 kilometres an hour, and over 100 kilometres an hour, it's a percentage. So the minimum allowance for their equipment, not your equipment, is 2 kilometres per hour. So I built that in, because when you're sitting around the speed limit, 59, 60, 61, you go to 61 and you're just sitting on the speed limit with your cruise control, then what you find is that if you've got it set to 60 exactly, you get all these alerts which are annoying. And so by setting at 62 or 2 kilometres an hour over, then you miss all of those alerts. And that's the way I want it to work. So you can use it as a fixed speed limit, or you can use the auto. In other states around Australia, only the fixed speed limit. You can obviously change the limit as you go along, but you shouldn't be touching. Well, the laws vary in each state, so you'd have to check the laws. But if you're using a navigational app and you need to change it for navigation, not putting in text, it may or may not be legal. So for example, if it's making a noise, you can touch it to get rid of the noise. So it's a navigational aid. Anyway, that's the so don't take my advice, find out your own advice on that area. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this trip, and and that's another video. So thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to sharing what I find out as I go along.